Welcome back to Liberty Fairs Miami, our first show in Miami. We're super excited about our Liberty Live conversations. We really wanted to incorporate more education into our shows and to share knowledge, especially after COVID. There's so much we can learn from each other, so I'm super excited to introduce our wonderful panelists that are here today, great friends of mine. So this is going to be a fun talk. We're going to talk about money. Who loves money? I do. So we're going to talk about money, the challenges. We're going to talk about the challenges, financing, e-commerce, wholesale, outsourcing, all of those good things with my lovely friends on stage. So I'm going to start by introducing Danielle Licata. We worked together for a few years. She's a gem. She is the co-founder of Curio, actually based here in Miami. Welcome, Danielle.
Thank you for having us.
Next up is Syama Mayer. Her last name, it trips me up a bit. Syama and I met during COVID, during the pandemic. We're still in a pandemic. We decided to do a talk on Clubhouse every Monday, and we had so many brands, fashion people engaged. We did it weekly I think we did it for 3 months. Forever. And we built a bond, and we stayed close. This is actually my first time meeting her here in Miami yesterday. So, Syama, you're incredible. We have been leaning on each other, supporting each other, sharing ideas. She is the founder of Scaling Retail. We're going to get more into what Scaling Retail is in a moment, but thank you for being here.
Hell yeah. Super happy to be here.
I know that you were a buyer back in the day, and now you're kicking butt at Scaling Retail. Tell us more.
I'm going to tell you all about it.
Oh, I know you will.
Let me start from, yes. So I'm a previous buyer. I used to work at Barney's, like way back in the day, RIP. Ran a division at Gucci. About 10 years ago, I founded Scaling Retail. We launch and scale fashion companies globally, primarily pre-revenue and early growth stage companies. We basically help with everything from building up operations, scaling up brand strategy, capacity building, fundraising, et cetera. He's a good friend of mine for a very good reason. When clients are ready, when they have capital and things are moving along, we need good friends like Tim and Hilden. So, when it comes to building out kind of partnership planning and things like that, we're super instrumental in opening up our networks and basically connecting people to the right service providers and the right things at the right time, right? The second question was about COVID, right?
Yeah,
and
right. Just how has it been for you coming out of that?
Oh my God.
Coming out of COVID.
So here's what's crazy, guys. So last year, when COVID first hit, I launched a few brands. I had a client who launched the first international drop shipping company coming out of Tanzania, which was super dope and really amazing. I had 3 clients who just launched in the last month. I got to tell you, the people who kept their nose to the ground, who hustled hard, COVID worked out for them. Their businesses are stronger than ever. Things are happening. It's pretty exciting.
Syama, you launched an e-commerce business. Was it at the top of the pandemic or during?
It was, so I launched a business with a partner in April of 2020 as a direct response to the pandemic.
Tell me about that. Tell me more about that.
We launched a cloth mask business. We sold about 2 million gross in 6 months. Yeah, we scaled from 1 factory to 7 within 6 weeks. We grew from 2 to 13 people in a matter of 8 weeks. We moved 3 PLs twice. Holy shit.
That's what I was thinking, but I didn't want to say it.
I mean, it was wild. And also it was really fun and it was really exciting. And actually, we donated over 60,000 masks back into local communities. The most exciting thing about it was the opportunity to really throw ourselves into a market opportunity when everyone else was kind of wondering what to do. So not only being able to give back jobs and create ecosystems and actually help add back to the labor market, but then also to be able to play with marketing. I mean, we launched incredible direct mail campaigns. I mean, my ROAS on Facebook was 13 to 1. Like, what? Can anyone understand how crazy that is? Especially now when it's Facebook and Apple are not so happy. But it was an incredible experience, and not just for myself, but also for the other companies that I consulted that launched as well. When it came to looking for moments of optimism and moments of hope, It was really the brands that were able to have the cash flow to leverage, to be able to add inspiration, add hope, keep up their social, be able to communicate with customers, that I think really that authenticity and vulnerability, the humanness, that was everything.
What are some other things outside of TikTok? What are some other things that you think brands should be doing right now, whether they're brands or retailers, in terms of marketing and social?
Absolutely. I think it's very important that we actually really understand that we need to be where our customers are. So this idea of what platform should I be on, or should I be on every platform, really comes down to where are your customers and how well do you know them? You know, one of the biggest things that I've become a super evangelist around is a Harvard Business School theory, and everyone who knows me has heard me say this so many times.
I think I've heard it 20 times.
20 times. Okay. I'm going to say it real fast. It's basically called Jobs to be Done, and it's a methodology of doing this kind of customer inquisition to truly understand what the customer struggles are, so you can take that language to then further iterate on your product copy, your marketing copy, as well as product development. So imagine creating a product that is, or an experience that is good enough, right? That then manages to connect with the customer at the price point and where they want to connect with you at. That is so much more powerful than over-engineering marketing, over-engineering product, throwing a lot of money behind things, because somehow in our ivory tower, we seem to think we know what's best. Guess what? Your customer actually knows what's best for them, right? They know exactly how they want to be spoken to, and the more listening we do, right, which can be hard, especially as a young brand or as a small boutique. It takes a lot of time and energy to build up the chutzpah, right, to have that and to put ourselves out there. But the best thing you can do is actually become an excellent listener. You can listen through data analytics. You can listen through Shopify analytics, through Google. You can also listen on social. But the best thing you can actually do is get on the damn phone and talk to your customers and find out more. And then leverage what you're learning, flip it back into product development and marketing. There is nothing anyone else likes to see more than a reflection of themselves or aspirations in the market and what you're producing. Now, as far as more tactical stuff, what the hell do we do?
What are we gonna do? What do we do?
Exactly, what do we do? Okay, so TikTok, y'all need to be there.
I know. I don't know how many people. Danny, are you on TikTok?
So brands don't need to be there themselves, but you need to have people on TikTok with your stuff, right? So yeah. So if you take a look at TikTok platforms, and you take a look at individual emerging growth stage businesses, they're not on there posting brand videos all the time. They don't have time for that. But what can they do? They partner with influencers. They partner with those people on TikTok whose content is going viral. So don't bother creating this robust, domained kind of traffic place for yourself on TikTok. Spend the time and energy to cultivate those relationships, leverage their markets and audiences, and don't be afraid of how they choose to express your product might be different than how you think. The idea here is that we actually give creative control to creatives who are producing content, and not trying to be so tops down anymore about this ivory tower approach.
Syama, we talk a lot about financing and investing as well. Do you have any tips for new brands that are looking for? I know typically we say, I'm looking for an investor, but are there any other avenues brands should take?
There is money out there, everyone should be smiling. There's cash. Last year, Americans put $2 billion into savings accounts. We've seen deregulation of equity crowdfunding. We have seen the rise of the ability to now be able to invest in platforms like Republic, Equities, and all of those things. What does that mean? That means that everybody here who has an idea, who can put together a video, it costs some money. You can go out there and you can raise some money. Now, as far as, is it smart money? Is it the right kind of money? What are you going to do with the capital? All of those things. Well, it's really personal. But when it comes to how you can get capital, there is a lot of money out there. In fact, because the stock market and everyone's been kind of well, how's it performing? It's, is it going to bust? There's a lot of family offices and private equity and people who are hey, I have a little bit of extra cash. Let me put together an angel syndicate. Let me go ahead and put in $250,000 and just see what happens, right? So when we think about having an excess amount of cash circulating in the economy, plus we think about maybe an unstable stock market or unclarity, right, not so sure about it, all of a sudden people are looking for alternative investments, right? And if you're not excited or invested into like crypto, then you're probably looking at other alternatives such as like small businesses. Now, whether or not it's a good investment or a bad investment has to do with a lot of the things that Tim said, like how do you build up your partnerships, what's your strategy, what's your long-term funding plan. But to be able to get initial cash flow, I think it's a little bit easier now than it ever has been before. It takes planning, it takes time. You certainly shouldn't just put something out there. But in terms of the stages of raising capital, you never really invest against like an idea, right? When it comes to like how do people raise capital, it's really, again, through that friends and family, getting that first 100, 250,000, going through the exercise, building a product, getting it tested, and having the right KPIs and metrics to actually be able to pitch it, right? If someone's like, and I hear this all the time, all I need is money to fund my marketing. I'm like, really? Like, what are the KPIs? What am I actually investing in? The flip side of that, guys, which is also super important, is how much of your business are you willing to give away? How familiar are you guys with all of the business owners out there who've actually ended up overcapitalizing their companies from outside investment? Their businesses do well, and guess what? They exit with nothing. With nothing, like for real. Like not even, you might be saying to yourself, that would be so amazing if I raised X, Y, and Z and grew it because of the notoriety, because of the branding, the press. But then imagine walking away with nothing. That's really, really awful. So as you're looking at investment, yes, it's available. Be smart about it. Don't give away too much of your business. If you don't know what you have or what to give away, that means you haven't been in business long enough to know what you have, right? So be careful.
I want to know what you guys think the future of retail is. We know that a lot of stores have closed. Barney's is gone. It's really changed. A lot of our favorite brands, are either transitioning into something new, or they're no longer relevant, or they're no longer alive. I'm thinking things are going to be more experiential since we've been in hiding for so long, but I could be wrong. I'd love to hear your suggestions.
The future is sexy.
Here goes Syama with the sexy voice.
The future is global. It's omni. It's ever present. The future is also expensive. And so when I say that, it's that, in order to be where you need to be, in order to create the content you need to create, you need to invest your resources appropriately. It's not cheap. It is easier more now than ever to start a business. It is harder now than ever to grow a business, right? You need a lot of tenacity, capital, friends, family. You need everyone on deck in order to grow something. But it's global, right? If you're not thinking about your secondary and tertiary markets, start to think about that. It's also omni. If you're thinking experiential, if you're thinking direct to consumer online, if you're thinking wholesale, you cannot actually afford to not do everything anymore. This last year really exposed a lot of holes in people's business models, weak marketing, weak cash flow, weak operating. It's time to shore up all of your bases, weak supply chains, you name it. It's more expensive, it's sexy, it's global, it's everywhere.
When I work in venture capital, so my question is that we talked a lot about that friends and family round, but what if you don't have the benefit of having that friends and family round? What are some different tactics that brands can take as they try and get that pre-seed, seed, Series A funding?
Such a good question. Okay, so there's a company out there called Female Founders Fund. Super awesome. So if you're a woman, which a lot of more women entrepreneurs are coming up, really great opportunities to tap into smaller resources of funding. In fact, I don't have the list in my mind, but I do have a list somewhere. I think it's like 25 to 30 different early stage platforms that actually really help to connect funders to capital and to entrepreneurs. There's an amazing fund that I'm actually a member of called Angel Squad, and it's this company called Hustle Fund. Hustle Fund makes very early on investments, very small $25,000 checks to about 150 companies. They take them through a 4 to 6 week incubation period. Those that kind of excel, they're doing their diligence at the same time. By the end of those 4 to 6 weeks, there's then an opportunity to raise an extra $250,000 in capital. right? So you're looking for programs like that. Traditionally in retail, you're going to find a lot of these more tech-focused companies like XRC. But again, that really takes kind of a tech focus. If you're just like, hey, I make cool shit and I want to sell something that's amazing and I have this cool concept and here's my market, you want to look for these smaller types of organizations. The other thing is you're going to find yourself, and in fact, last year I made so many digital friends that are now turning into beautiful friends in real life, like Edwina. And a lot of them were on digital-based communities. Most of the communities I'm a part of are very female-focused, but there are a lot of other ones out there. Again, they will help connect you to angels and early-stage investments. Groups like Female Founders Collective, I'm talking about Chief, there's Albright. A lot of these membership organizations are really great for initial stages of funding. At the same time, and then at the same time as you're looking for funding, keep in mind that you need to be able to de-risk the investment into a clothing company. By de-risking it, I love everyone's like, yes, de-risk, yes. Well, let me tell you, fashion is high risk. Everything about fashion is very risky. So when you de-risk it, you're actually going back to one of Tim's earlier points here, which is what are your points of leverage? So really ask yourself, right? Like, can I go vertical? Do I have a good supply chain? Like, what are my points of leverage that de-risk someone's investment? And the best way to do that is to ask yourself, if I had $250,000 to invest in my business, or in someone else's business, what would I be looking for that would de-risk that for me?
My first question is, so let's say how did you guys balance your businesses in the very beginning? How did you realize when it was a good point to kind of fully commit yourself to your future endeavor, which is what you're doing now? And my second question is, let's say business is a little slow. How do you find yourself kind of telling us, okay, how do you grow from it being too slow?
I totally agree with you on so many of these points. I think what's really important is to understand what your core competencies are. Every single person in this room comes to the table with very different lineages of being founders, CEOs, or whatever it is that they do. Some of the mistakes that I see are trying to become the best digital marketer, right? Taking that class on Google Analytics for 6 months, wasting time trying to understand how to do a tech pack. Right? When you start to think like a CEO, right, you actually start to work backwards from your lineage. Right? What am I actually strong and good at? Those are the things that you double down on because you're good at them. Right? Then you kind of start to understand enough about the other areas so you can then hire and delegate out. You will never get out from underneath the current if you don't lean into what you're great at, learn enough about the other things, and then actually be able to hire out. Right? So you should never quit your job to go do every single thing in your business. In fact, as your business starts to raise capital, your next investment shouldn't be quitting your job. It should be hiring out other people so you can start to build a system, depending on what your core competencies are. Right? If you're a product developer and a maker, well then yeah, you're gonna need to spend a lot more time because product development and making is gonna be core to the success of your business. Right? If you're like me and I'm like, I can't make it, but I can sell shit, right? It's a little bit different, right? I lean into the marketing side, the business ops, the capacity building. So hone in and double down on what you're great at. And then over time, for myself, I started consulting while I was at Barney's. I saw a hole in the market. I said, all of these amazing brands out there have such great product, but they all lack business acumen, operations, and retail strategy. Hey, I'm gonna go try that. I tried it. All of a sudden, a few years later, I was like, boom, I'm just gonna do it, So if you guys are on Clubhouse, you wanna go to the Scaling Retail Clubhouse and follow, and then I'll add you guys. We've had the most insane rooms, 3+ hours, global audience. We started off with the Pacific Coast, it was East Coast, Pacific, then we moved into people from London were showing up, Nigeria. I mean, we just threw down. It was so amazing. And it's Edwina, myself, Tim drops in once in a while. We've got Syama from Snobette. We've got Stephanie from Stateless, who helps with production and talks about production stuff. We've got Mayor, who talks about, I miss our crew so much. It's so amazing. So yeah, follow us on Clubhouse. It's usually Monday nights. It's pretty dope.
Thank you guys so much for this time, for coming, for sharing your knowledge. We are so excited. We're so happy to be back in business. So we were able to execute the show. Thank you guys for coming. Tim, Syama, Danny, really appreciate you all.
Woo!